Okay, welcome everyone for this webinar on unlocking home plot location intelligence with public data. I know a bunch of us are homeowners. What we typically see when we look at the home plots is the the home that is built on the plot, but the plot itself is the potential of that. We typically don't see a whole lot. We just look at the assessment or appraisal and then just assign a certain value. For instance, in the town where I live, Walpole, when I bought the home, the plot was just 250K, and then that is it. That's uniform across, irrespective of the size of the lot and the potential of the lot, or irrespective of zoning of the lot. So this is essentially, we are going to look at the home plot and what is the potential in that home plot. So this is very helpful for people who are looking to invest in land, or who are investing to do some redevelopment of an existing lot, or buy an old home, demolish that home, and then rebuild something more highest use of that particular land. Okay, so that is a quick intro on the presentation itself. We'll just go through the slides. We have about 16 slides and we have 1 hour. Hopefully we'll stick to the time, and towards the end we'll have some question and answers. Okay. So about myself, I am the founder and broker owner at Key Prime Realty. Brokerage started in 2015, and I was an agent 3 years prior to that. Our agency listed about 150 homes, and on the buy side, we represented 550 buyers, and then we did a transaction volume of about $500 million. We do update periodically in the social media handles, market updates, some analysis on various data elements that drive the real estate market. Yeah, do follow us. Yeah, I'll be sending this presentation anyways to everybody who is registered. So yeah, you'll have all these slides. So let's move on. Okay, the presentation, it's about 16 slides. The presentation is organized into these main sections. So we'll quickly define the plot, and then we look at the real estate market data sources. So these are the sources that will in general define how the market is trending. So this is really useful if somebody is interested in the macro analysis. Okay, some people keep asking me, how is the market, right? So it's a very broad question. So these are the sources that can typically explain that. Then we'll go to the demographic sources. Whenever you are looking at a plot of land, you are interested in how is the demographics information closer to the plot, say on the street or in the subdivision or in the town, in the zip code, in the census block, or in the county, in the state. Of course, the macro is the national. Then we have the geographic information systems, GIS. Believe it or not, the state spent so much money on preparing these systems. Yeah, we'll go through them. So essentially, every plot of land that is in the state is mapped through these systems. So we'll go through the state one, which includes all the municipalities, and then there are some towns which enhance what state provides, and then they add some additional layers. So we'll go through this. Yeah, this would be really interesting to see. Then we have the town public records. The public records can contain the subdivisions as well as the plots. So these public records will show, if you take the plot of land, you can go to that plot of land into the town records and then find out what are the various permits that were pulled, and what are the planning department records, what are the fire department records, and uh, you can get a whole lot of information through these public records that are stored at the town. And then as residents, or whoever is interested in, this is right information. If you request with the town has to respond within 10 days. But that is if you want to approach the town. But without even approaching the town, I think we have access to a bunch of public records, which we'll go through the sources. Then registry of deeds. Yeah, this is where the deeds, titles, all the easements, all the related restrictions on the land is recorded. So we'll go through that. Uh, and then we'll go through the master plan and zoning. So these are typically the potential of the land is defined through these, the zoning ordinance of the municipality, and then the master plan of the town. Okay, we'll just define these and then go through these. Okay, and then finally we'll just do a question and answer session. All right, so that is the agenda, and then yeah, we'll the top parts. I think the real estate market data sources and demographic sources. I think we probably quickly skim through so that we'll go into the a little more interesting stuff that uh, which you probably are more interested in given a plot of land. Okay, let's go through. Home plot definition. The plot is nothing but a parcel of land legally acceptable for documents. So if you look at the deed or mortgage, if you look at these, I think the plot of land is defined in a specific manner. So I'll quickly show what this is. So let's take the deed, for example, of this particular property. So this property is saying a certain parcel of land with the buildings thereon situated in Medford and then the county, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and being bounded and described as follows. So this is how the plot of land is really identified. So this is a legal description because back in the days when these plots were created, they did not have the GPS systems, so they did not have the lat and longitude. So that would have been the perfect way to describe a plot of land, but back then they didn't have those. So this is how they describe. So if you want to identify this land, you have to go through a GIS system, and then from there. So the address of this property is so usually whenever you're describing the legal description of the plot, typically starts with a point of start. So POS it's called. And then the description starts from the POS and then it goes around and then comes back to the POS. So that's how it is a closed polygon. Uh, if you look at the, yeah, you can measure using this. By the way, this is the Mass GIS. That's one of the subjects in this discussion. You take this feet and then you go through the description like the description says, right? College Avenue, 59 feet in the southeasterly direction. So you just start at the POS and then you go, this is 59 feet as you can see there. And then from there, the second one is this, and then you go here, and then you go here. So that's the legal description. And legal descriptions are used by the surveyors. The surveyors can, if the surveyors can identify the property, parcel of land, using the description that is provided, that is legally enforceable. So the courts accept that. Okay, so that is the parcel of land is described using one of the methods that we are looking at is the meets and bounds. So that is what we have just seen. Meets and bounds is the measurements in the directions that are described in the legal documents such as a deed. Next is rectangle and government survey. Yeah, this one is usually done for the farmlands. So this is not really very important. But the third one is this is more important for us. So it's a lot and block system. So that's a recorded plat, it's called. So typically, if you take a subdivision, for instance, that is the other deed, block and lot deed. So this is a deed that has the description using the block and plat. So block and plat, what it says is the certain parcel of land with the buildings thereon situated in Walpole, the town and the county, and then it shows the lot number and then the subdivision plan. So this is more appropriate for the lots situated in a subdivision. Okay, so if you go to the registry of deeds, you can find exactly this bookend plan number. If you take the book number 516 and then plan number 779, you should be able to find a subdivision plan with this name, and then within this subdivision plan, you should be able to find a lot 19. So this is a recorded document within the registry of deeds. So this is the other way to define a parcel of land. Okay. So that's the two methods which are mostly used to describe a parcel of land. So just wanted to define the parcel so that when we talk about the potential of a parcel, we know the exact legal definition of a parcel that we are looking at. So it is with the meets and bounds and the lot and block system. Okay. Then moving to the next slide. So the public data sources, we just look at the macro or the coarse grain to the fine grain. So we look at the public data sources at the country level, state level, county, town, zip code, census block, street, subdivision, and plot. Okay, subdivision if there is one. In many cases, subdivision may not be relevant. Relevant geographic division, right? Okay, so let's go through the sources that are available. So by the way, these are all public sources. No subscriptions are needed. They are readily available at free of cost to anybody who is interested. So this is the national market data. Realtor, Redfin, Zillow. So these are the three prominent sources. There are a few other sources too, but I think these are free and they publish so much data. They make money by selling the leads, the real estate leads. But if you look at the Realtor, for instance, so data visualizations. So there is data library. You can download a whole lot of data library. So this data library contains at all levels. So the national, state, county, metro. So you have data at those levels. And then data visualizations, it just shows us various market hotness index, local market trends, and then the affordability index. So there are various data visualizations and the data library that is available through realtor.com. Okay. In addition to that, I think we have Redfin. That's a pretty good data source that describes the market data. Redfin has a very good visualizations too. So if you look at new listings, so for each of these years, this goes from January to December. So usually the number of listings, yeah. If you look at the new listings, yeah, the new listings start at low and then they peak during the early summer, and then they again come back to the lowest during the end of the year. So this is the new listings. Similarly, we have a whole lot of data elements, and then these can be filtered through county level as well as metro level. So for metro level, I think if you're interested in Greater Boston, how the data has been, so you can just filter it, and then you should be able to draw these charts. So that's new listings, and then you have a whole lot of data that's available here. Pending sales, and then off market in 2 weeks, homes sold, listing price, and then median sale price. So these are very important, how the sale prices have trended over the years. So if you look at the trends, right? So since 22, 3, 4, 5, in all these years, as we can see, the median price has kept on going up, right? So the 2025's median price is highest of all the years. So the only one time that we have seen this is the housing recession that was in 2022 second half. That's when the interest rates were jacked up. That's when we have seen a little correction. But other than that, yeah, this was the window of opportunity if somebody was looking for some price corrections. But other than that, I think the market has been going up and up all these years. Yeah, we'll have to see how it will trend next year. Okay. So yeah, this is the Redfin data source through the visualization. So I think this is pretty useful. Then Zillow has a very good visualizations too. Let's quickly go through what Zillow has to offer. Zillow Home Value Price Index. I think that is uh, a pretty good data point, which actually referenced by many other analysts on the market. So this is you can filter it and then you can download it and then yeah, you could draw charts on your own using this data, but they have their own visualizations that can be the dashboards. I think yeah, they have their own visualization. So as you can see, it's slightly a little more detailed. As you can see, we have the data going back to previous years too. So I think so. This is a pretty useful uh, data visualization from Zillow. New listings, active listings, pending listings, same. Median list price, median sale price, and price cuts, sold above list. So it has a whole lot of information, and then it can be done through various regions. So just go through the metros, and then it can be compared through between years too. So if you can see how 2019 versus 2025. So we're all curious, pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic, how the trends had been. As you can see, 2019, the sold above list is like this. If you look at the new listings, I think, yeah, as you can see, 2019, we had many more listings than what we have now. So I think, yeah, this visualization really helps us to see how the market is trending. Okay, so that's the national level, and there are several paid sources which real estate professionals, we have subscriptions to these, but these guys, all these paid sources will also have some uh, insights that they give it for free, so that people look at those insights and then buy the content. For instance, Resi Club, I think, yeah, if somebody is really interested in real estate trends and market dynamics, I think Resi Club, this guy is one of the a journalist who turned into a company. So he writes an excellent content. Okay, so these insights are really useful. Keeping Current Matter, Core Logic, Zellman Associates, Atom. Yeah, these are some of the other sources for the data. Okay, let's move. We have a lot of ground to cover. I think let me quickly browse through these and then get into the more interesting stuff that we want to see as far as plots are concerned. Okay, so MLS pin, this is the Massachusetts. So the previous ones we've seen are national sources, and then for Massachusetts, more relevant local data. MLS pin, this is our multiple listing service, and these guys have their own insights. Okay, so they do quarterly insights. This is the third quarter 2025. Here they do an excellent visualization where how the prices have been trending, and then how it is between condos versus single family. Same thing, how many listings have come on market, what is the list price, what is the sale price, what is the days on market. So this will give us a pretty good insight into the local markets, right? Because as you know, real estate is hyper local. So what you see on the national level may not be the case at the local level. So this is our Massachusetts. And then the Greater Boston Real Estate Board, these guys have pretty good data elements. Okay, if you look at GBREB, the same thing that we have seen at the national level data, we do have it at the Greater Boston. Here we have similar. I think if you see Insights report, right? I think they do. So how the market is trending, how many listings have come on market, how many units are sold, active. Month supply of inventory. So you do have housing reports from Greater Boston Real Estate Board. So that is also useful. And then in addition to these, we do actually we download the data from multiple listing service on our website. We every month we do put the charts for our clients' consumption. So this is homegrown. So we do make our own charts based on the MLS data by downloading this. Okay. But yeah, this is just one of the sources. I just wanted to put a little plug there for us because we do put a lot of effort in actually maintaining a parallel database. All the listings go into our MySQL database, and then we extract the data, we analyze it a little bit, and then we do those charts. So if somebody is really interested in some custom maps, custom data, I think we have it available with us. So that's the local charts, local data. And then moving to the demographics information. So I think this is where I think things get interesting. So when you are looking at a plot of land, so you are obviously interested in, hey, how about this location? So what is the potential of this location? So as the saying goes, in real estate, it's all about location, 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 right? So you can do wonders with the improvement on a given plot of land, but the plot of land itself has an inherent value. So the inherent value is more or less proportionate to the demographics, right? How strong the demographics are. So to look at this, these are pretty good sources. Okay. I'm just taking some examples here. You can expand this for whichever town that you really are interested in. Okay. So the first one that we look at is the town demographics. Okay. Census.gov. I think this is a public, actually federal government website. It's an excellent source of information for anybody who is looking to analyze a particular um, municipality. Okay, so if you want to analyze a particular city, just go to this census.gov and then pull the city's demographics information. Okay. Now, the same can be done. Okay, say if you have two similar properties that you are comparing between two towns, say Walpole versus, say, Norfolk, which are adjacent towns, you can just put this side by side and then you can analyze this data. Okay, which town has stronger demographics? Based on that, you can make some conclusions. Okay, so if I buy this piece of land in Walpole versus Norfolk, which are offered at the same price, maybe I might be sitting on a better value piece of land. Okay. So the demographics, we have the total population, that's not that relevant. But this is the income and poverty. So the median household income, a lot of times the the plot value is proportionate to the median income in the area. So this is 132K, and yeah, you can look at uh, n number of data elements. Okay, so how the income and poverty levels, how the education levels, and then how the housing, and then race and ethnicity. Yeah, this because of fair housing rules, this doesn't matter much. It doesn't matter what race, what ethnicity that the population belongs to. But if somebody's really interested in, you can just point to this data and then see. Maybe some of you want to open an Indian restaurant or something. In which case, you probably want to see what is the race and ethnicity in that particular area and look at. Okay, so if there is a significant population that are attracted to a certain type of business, then probably yeah, this data is quite useful. So yeah, there's a whole lot of data elements here, as you can see. So these demographics, I think the household size is one that will come, but the median age and the population by age. So if somebody is interested in senior housing, probably this is interesting. So maybe if you have a lot of seniors living in the town, then you want to focus on senior housing. And if you have a lot of students in the town, then you want to focus on student housing. So that, and then the language is spoken, native born versus foreign born. Residential mobility, actually this tells us how many people have moved into the city. Okay, and then veterans. So if somebody is targeting, say, if there is a business owner who is looking at VA loans, so then it'll be helpful to see how many veterans live in the town. So income and poverty. So as you can see, the state median is 104K and Walpole is 132K. That means this town is more prosperous than the median Massachusetts towns. But if you take a few other towns, I think it could be much more. And a lot of times the property values are proportionate to the median incomes in that particular town. Poverty, this is an important one. So if somebody is interested in a rental property, so you want to really buy properties where the poverty is reasonable and also unemployment is reasonable. So you don't want to buy properties where there are significant poverty, where you end up with low quality tenants. And yeah, I think employment, housing, yeah, it's taking a little bit to load, but yeah, as you can see, housing, financial characteristics, median gross rent. So this is an important one. So somebody might be interested in, hey, if I buy this 4-unit property, how much rent can I expect? So this is a reasonable estimate. Okay, so in the town of Walpole, the median rent is 1952. So that tells us something. If you're getting 4 units, and then you can probably do a rough math, how much rent you can expect. And then home ownership rate, this is an important one. So say if you take a town like Worcester, probably there the home ownership probably is 50% and then a renter population is 50%. But a town like this town, you have a home ownership 82% and then the renters are much less. So in which case, so if you have a lot of owner occupants, then if there are people moving in and the rental stock is less, in which case if you can convert or build or buy rental property, it's a little more easier to rent it out. Okay, so as you can see, the census data has a treasure trove of information which is useful for real estate enthusiasts, investors, or anybody who is looking to buy, or even for homeowners. Okay, so that yeah, there are a whole lot of other information too. The median size of the family, so that helps actually to decide, say, if you're developing a piece of land and if you have lots of bigger families, then you want to go for higher bedroom count, right? So when you're doing the unit mix, and if you have lots of young professionals, you probably want to go for a single bedroom unit. So to determine your unit mix, I think the family size matters. Okay, so I think, yeah, this is just a quick reference. You can explore this much more. We just need to move on. So that's the census.gov. The next one is census block level. So this is more granular level. So if you go to censusreport.org, right? So these guys, what they've done is they do split a town into much more smaller census blocks. So, okay, so this town, okay, Walpole town is, you're saying 132K median income. Now, maybe the town could be a huge town, like say if you take Worcester. Worcester can be a huge town with maybe, I don't know, 40, 50,000 population, but you're buying a property and then you're interested in that census block. So for that, think so. This website does a census track report. So if you do, you put a property address here, and then you search this exactly. So I put 8 Atlantic Court and Walpole. So this, although this whole thing is Walpole town, this actually split the town into smaller census blocks, and then this block's demographics can be seen using this. Okay, this is a little more granular. Okay, so maybe the entire town could be really prosperous, but this block could be not so very desirable. So you probably are interested in the smaller area within the town. So if you take this block, I think, yeah, you can see what is the median age. This is an important one. So you look at seniors versus median versus family bearing young children. So this is helpful when you decide some real estate decisions. And then the median income. So this block, as you can see, it's almost twice the town's median income. So the median household income of the town is 130K, but this median income is 230K. But if you look at the per capita, it's not so great because these are bigger families. Almost all families might be four people per household, maybe two children. So that's why the per capita could be lower, but a median household is pretty strong. And then this shows, yeah, there are 3.6 persons per household, and then there are 481 households, marital status, unit occupancy. And then this shows occupied versus vacant. So this is a good indicator. So you really don't want to purchase land if there is a whole lot of vacancy, right? Say if the vacancy is 10%. So 3% is pretty reasonable, okay? So if you take Boston, I think it's probably 1% or 2% vacancy. But you don't want to purchase in an area where the vacancy is 10% or so. So in which case the housing stock, say if there are 496 housing units are there, 10% of these units are already vacant. So you do not want to buy there and then add more units, right? So that's very risky. So these insights are very helpful if you're looking to invest into a piece of land or piece of property. Okay, and then the median household. This is the median. This tells us the typical value, and sometimes if you're buying a $2 million property and the median value is this much, that's something to look at. Okay, whether you really have that potential or not to use that land. Okay, educational attainment. Yeah, there are a whole lot of other information that's useful for making the decision. So this is the census block. So going back, so we have the city or municipality level information at census.gov. Then we have the census block division of that particular municipality. So that is further refinement of a particular town, and then you can look at the values for a particular census block. Then there is another source which I think I really want to show. So city data. This is I use this very often to determine the areas and their median household incomes and various other factors. So this gives us a whole lot of location intelligence, which is an indispensable tool for anybody who's looking into valuing a property or a piece of land. Okay, so let's take a town. So this gives, yeah, of course, all the census information is there. But in addition to that, so this is one chart which is highly useful. Okay. So what this tells us is, see this, the darker shades are the median household income goes up from lighter tone to the darker tone. So if you see Westwood, Dover, and some parts of Medfield and some parts of Walpole, so there are blocks. These are all census blocks actually, but this is divided into smaller blocks within the same town. As you can see, within the same town, you can readily see which areas are doing much better than the other areas. If you take Norwood, there are areas within Norwood which are much lower. Actually, it shows the actual median household income here. It's not visible because of, I think, the screen sharing, but there is a small pop-up that goes, and then it shows maybe here we have a 40,000 median household income, whereas the other block of the other census block that we have just seen through on the census data, so that is this. So this is darker, and then there are parcels of there are some other census blocks which are even darker. Okay. Then this tells us, okay, if you are buying something, say you're getting a piece of land, say in this census block, and the adjacent census block is doing pretty good, but this census block as of now is not doing so great. So this gives us hope. Okay, maybe so it's called gentrification. So down the line, maybe this block could gentrify. So people who are pricing out of this census block could be moving to this census block. Okay. So I think that is one way to look at the future potential of a property. If you were adjacent to a more affluent area, there is a potential that there is a spillover from this, and then this eventually becomes uh, more valuable. Okay, so but if you're in the middle of a really tough area, okay, I don't want to pick any areas because of some fair housing and various regulations. But if you are in the middle of some areas where all around it are doing poorly, so that the probability of this coming up in value could be low. And obviously, the property values are also reflective of that. But if you are getting something at a much reasonable lower price, but the adjacent blocks are doing very good as of now, so that is something that you could potentially bet on. Okay, so for that, this city data is really, really useful. Okay. In addition to that, I think the city data has a whole lot of information. So if you see somebody asks, okay, hey, how is the crime rate in Norwood? Okay. City data crime index is 73. See, most of our greater Boston towns, the worst greater Boston town does better than an average town in some areas like, I don't know, some other St. Louis or even some parts of Florida. So our crime indexes are very low. Typically, in other places, I think this touches 200, 300 and all. Even the median household incomes, even the really affluent places, say if you take, I don't know, Arkansas, maybe the really affluent area is probably less than our median town in greater Boston area. So it's all relative. If somebody says, okay, hey, I'm going to Arkansas and then buying a property at 200K per door, and then the median household income is there at 70, which is 50% more than the state median. But if you're getting a same 200K per door in, say, Norwood, whose median income is, say, 100K, so that's how you compare. Okay. So I don't need to go all the way there to buy a property, whereas I'm getting a similar property here, which is close to me. So that's good way to. It's all relative. So it's these numbers will help us make some decisions. Okay. I'll just close this. So that is the demographics information that we can gain through these publicly available sources. Census.gov and then censusreporter.org. This is a nonprofit, and then this is the city data. And the city data, they make money through those advertisements, as you can see. Whenever I open that, they just throw a lot of Google ads. Okay, so that is the demographics information. So let's move on to the next slide. All right. So Mass.js. So this, I think we have already seen this. Mass.js is comprehensive, free downloadable geospatial data. I think they contract with geospatial tool providers like Arc. There are various vendors. I think they provide this invaluable tool. If you take this, every parcel of land in Massachusetts is mapped. So if you take one example, say 87 College Avenue, Medford, as an example. So these are all the plots of lands. Huh? So you can take each one. Actually, by the way, this is statewide. So you can just put an address and then you can just find it. Okay. And then this is the parcel of land. So you can just see who is the current owner of this property and of course, the address of the property. And then we just looked at this. And then these are the current assessments. What is the building value and then what is the land value? The other values, maybe there are some small additions around it. What is the lot size? And then what is the last sale price, last sale date, and then a little bit more information that's available. Okay, so the book and page, this, if you go to the registry of deeds, I think this book and page, I think you can just pull this registry information, and then you can look at deed, uh, uh, easements, or any other documents associated with this, the mortgage, whoever has a lien holders and all of that. Okay. So this is a Mass.js. So it's really useful. Mass.js actually has a few more layers. I think you have various map types, and then you can do some measurements here. So, for instance, if you want to really know the what is the total square footage of this, you can actually measure it. So you can just take this and this and this, and then it tells you that this plot of land is 6,500 square feet. Okay. Uh, and then, yeah, this gives you a whole lot of, and if you're curious and if you want to learn a lot, and then, yeah, you can just keep on going through this. Okay. Okay. Who is my neighbor? Right. So this guy is the neighbor. And who is this neighbor? So you can just do a whole lot of analysis using the Mass.js. Okay. So you can just get lost in this, uh, in just analyzing what's going on, and then who owns this. So this happens to be Tufts College. Okay. And then you can find out, okay, maybe there are some properties which are owned by the town itself. See, the arbiter of this property is town of Medford. Okay. Um, so that means this is not privately held. That means there not much development can happen here. So this property probably can take comfort that the value of this could be a little higher, because here maybe only city property, maybe it could be used for recreation or based on the zoning, which we will see. Uh, then you can assign some little more value to it. Okay. All right. So that is Mass.js. Mass.js has various data layers, right? So we have aerial imagery, parcel mapping, infrastructure, environmental resources. Actually, uh, the layers are not here. Okay, actually, yeah, you can have some additional layers here. If you add aerial imagery, right? So then you see this is actual pictures, right? Through satellites, and how they have taken the actual imagery has been overlaid. So you can see, okay, so exactly where the trees are, where the driveways are, where the building is. This is a real picture from the top. Okay. So yeah, you can just add those overlays. So that's Massachusetts GIS map for the entire state. By the way, that's pretty impressive how they managed to map all the parcels in the state. Moving on to the town GIS. So this is a further enhancement of the Mass GIS. So if you take a particular town, I think, yeah, we're going to go through the Lexington town's GIS map. So they build on top of the state provided map, and then they add so many layers to it. I think, yeah, it'll be really impressive how they've done. More affluent towns have done this, and it's quite impressive. And it's quite useful for people who are looking to purchase properties in those towns to go through this rather than the Mass.js. So it has parcel data, zoning information, wetlands. Obviously, yeah, I know, for those of you who don't know wetlands, this is significant. Okay, wetlands and the habitat in the wetlands is so important. Even one endangered frog can actually derail the whole project, multi-million-dollar project. So I think the environmental aspects of a particular piece of land is quite important. Flood zones, topography. Topography is the heights of various things, the land, where it is high, where it is low. Aerial photography, school districts, voting precincts, infrastructure like water and sewer plants. Okay, so I think so various layers can be seen. Yeah, we'll just go through this. As you can see, this is focusing on just Lexington. Okay. And then you can search again here for the property. Yeah? So I just search for this 251 Walton Street, and then it gives you the same thing, property, and then ownership. Who owns this property, right? And then here you have, so I happen to select, yeah, if you really want to select a piece of land owned by a private individual. So this is, say, 8 Bushnell Drive is owned by these people. And then actually this gives you permits on the property too. So this takes you to the actually this is one of the websites that we'll be going through. So for each property you can go through the permits that have been pulled. Okay. So when you're buying a property, I think, yeah, we'll just go there. That's in the upcoming slides, but that actually you can go to the permits right from here. And then it tells you what is the elementary school year and what is the middle school year. And obviously there is one high school, so you don't need to show that here. Then in the selection, we don't need to worry about that. Now themes, this is very important. So in the themes, you can see aerial photography. So here it is just drawn maps, but aerial photography will give us the actual pictures from the top. Take it out. And then, yeah, the aerial photography has historical too. So you can see the difference between, if you switch between 23 to 24, 25, you can see from the top what changes have taken place. If there is a new build that happened, I think you can clearly see. So that's aerial imagery. Then Lexington open spaces. So this tells us, okay, what are the historic districts, right? So this happens to be the historic district in Lexington town. Yeah, there could be other sections too, but historic districts have additional zoning restrictions. Huh? So Lexington doesn't let you demolish a property if it falls in the historic district. Okay, maybe they let you uh, develop behind. Maybe you need to maintain certain aspects of the property if it happens to be in the historic district. Okay, so that gives us that information within the map itself. Okay, and then, yeah, it has different historic district sections, the Battle Green and the East Village, so all those. And then, so we'll just take it out. And then the other layers. So zoning. This is so important. Huh? So there is a village overlay district, zoning overlay district, zoning. So if you take this zoning, right, it tells us, okay. So this tells us what is central business, right? Central business is typically where the businesses are present. Okay, so if you are buying a piece of property here, so you need to know what can it be used for, right? Here the businesses go, and then if you are looking to build a residential, a single family home, so you have to purchase property in the residential, right? RO. This lets you buy one family dwelling, and if you're really looking to add more density, you really want to be purchasing plot of land in two family dwelling, RT. Okay, so that is 2 units. Huh? And multifamily, it's so tough to find a multifamily allowed parcel. But I think the Massachusetts state has actually is arm twisting most towns to designate at least 20% of the existing housing stock to be eligible for multifamily construction. So that's MBTA zoning, it's called. So that's happening. So I think I don't know whether that's updated here yet, but every town has multifamily zoning now. But anyway, so this is the source. As you can see, the town specific GIS map has a comprehensive set of information that is added to the Massachusetts zoning map GIS map. Okay, and then you have a whole lot of information here. So I think if we take out zoning, then topography. So this tells us these are the layers from the sea level. What is the height of this, and then it tells us so it's 320 and then 330. That means here it is 10 feet higher than here. So sometimes within the same plot, right? Say if your parcel goes from here to here, you need to factor in. So the front of your lot is 300 feet above, and then the back is 290. So there's a 10 feet gradient. So that means this is not a flat land. Sometimes it could be helpful where you could do a walkout basement. Sometimes it could be really tough. If the gradient is too much, then I don't think you can really build. You can use the whole plot. Okay, so this topography is really helpful. And by the way, Lexington has done an amazing job in terms of their GIS map. There are other towns who have done not these many layers, but at least significant enhancement from the GIS map that's provided by the state. So land use, again, so here it tells us wetlands. Okay, so if you are purchasing, for instance, this piece of land, it's already encroached in the wetlands. So if this gets demolished, there is no way that they can build this home back. Okay, so this is no, this is brushland, but the wetlands are it's more strict. So they don't let you build into it. So when you're purchasing a piece of land, so you go to this city-specific GIS map, and then you find out, are there any wetlands getting through into the piece of land? Okay, so if there are wetlands in the piece of land, there are buffer zones within 50 feet. They don't even let you do a parking lot also. So within 100 feet, there are some rules. There are 200 feet what you can do. There are very stringent rules what you can do with the wetlands. So that can be visualized through these GIS maps. Okay. And then that's land use, sports and recreation. Yeah, this helps us. Okay, if there is recreational land right adjacent to the property, that tends to add value to the property. And then conservation and recreation. Yeah, if you are putting a conservation land, that's great. So that you know that nothing ever gets built there. If there is conservation land in your parcel, then you cannot do anything in your own land. So that's important too, because although the land belongs to private individuals, the Conservation Commission actually designates that land as conservation. So you cannot cut trees, or you cannot disturb that land. Okay. Um, so that, and then yeah, of course, streets. Yeah, this tells us what are the private streets versus public streets versus state highways versus national highways and all of that. And then school districts, obviously this tells us which area belongs to which schools. Yeah, the whole lot of information. I think yeah, you can just play with this. Okay. So yeah, I just want to drive home the point that I think the town GIS maps give us a whole lot of information on the town, which the Massachusetts GIS map doesn't give. Okay, and this is a treasure trove of information. There's so much information that you can gain from this. And when you're looking at a piece of land, I think yeah, this is indispensable that you go through it as a primary research source. Okay, that is the nearing 7 o'clock. We'll quickly brush through the rest of the topics. Then town GIS maps we have seen. Town public records. I think we've already gone through the public records, the building records through the Lexington GIS map. When you click the permit records, I think you went to the town records. Now, most towns have adopted a couple of vendors. So this is a Vision Government Solutions. So this vendor provides public records for lots and lots of towns. And then Patriot Systems is the other one. Unfortunately, there's no one single source. So if you take Enter Online database here, I think you can look at just, if you take one street and then. So these are all the addresses. You can just take any piece of property and then you can just do, this is publicly available. So you can just see who is the owner of the property, what is it assessed at, and then what are the historic assessments on this property, and who was the owners and co-owners. And then so this gives us the improvements on the property. So if somebody says, hey, I have a finished basement, and you really need to look at the public records to estimate whether the town knows about it, right? So you have to really see, hey, then you need to say, okay, so the town says that there's no finished basement, but you have a finished basement. Did you pull a permit? Did you legally do it, right? So this publicly recorded information is quite useful when you are looking at improved parts. Okay. So that's the public records through Vision Government Solutions, which is the vendor for most towns in Massachusetts. And then Patriot Systems is the other source that some towns uh, work with. And then there are some towns which they have their own custom solutions. Unfortunately, there's no one single stop shop, but I think this is the more widely used one. Okay, so that's public records. And then this is the permits search. So most towns have adopted one or the other online permitting system these days. Okay, so this is quite useful to see when you are purchasing a piece of property. You go to the public records and then you find out You go to the search and then you just find out, I don't know, say 18 Atlantic Court. You see that it's clean, right? Every permit that has been opened, that is closed. And also, if you see some improvements on the property, you need to have the permit for that improvement. So that tells you that this home is clean, right? In some cases, the permits may not have been closed. So it's, I think, if one thing that you get out of this presentation is just take, I don't know, a piece of property, and then if it's yours, you just want to make sure there is an active permit. What happened with it, right? You just want to see, hey, why is it not closed, right? This is from 2016. Maybe, I don't know, the contractor who pulled this permit has abandoned it, right? When it is time to sell the property, all these things matter, right? Whoever is the prospective buyer will question, hey, how come this permit is not closed? So they will insist that this permit be closed. And it's not easy to track back who pulled the permit and then what did they do, what work was done, was the final inspection done? The town has to come back for inspection. And the code at that time could be more stringent, in which case they will ask you to do more work. So I think it's essential to make sure that whatever permits that are on open on the property are closed, and also you do permitted work. And what work requires permit? Yeah, that's a whole different subject, right? So electrical, plumbing, more or less, a lot of work requires permits, and then floors, paints, those don't require any permits. Decks, they require permit. Patios, not necessarily. So I think, yeah, that's the other uh, public information that you really want to consider when you are purchasing a piece of property. Okay, so that's the public records. Then we have registry of deeds. So this is, I think, quite significant. So here you have deeds, mortgages, liens, trust documents, property surveys. Yeah, there is so much information at registry of deeds, and this is publicly available, by the way, and it's intended to be publicly available, and then non-tampering and non-modifiable, right? That's because if you take this is what the real estate attorneys use to establish the ownership of a property, and whether the guy who is sending or whoever is selling, the grantor of the deed, has the authority to grant to the grantee, whoever is purchasing it. Okay, so the mass land records is the entry point, and then here, yeah, the records are kept at the county level. So for each county, there is one website. Unfortunately, there's no one. Yeah, I go through these a lot, but unfortunately, they're all different systems. It's unfortunate, but each county has their own uh, system. I think they have different software vendors who have developed. So I think if you take Norfolk as an example, right? So here, Norfolk records database, search by name and address. Here, I think you can just do take an address. Yeah, say if you're buying a property and then you really want to, the property happens to be in, say, I don't know, in Walpole. And here you can actually filter based on various document types, right? Say if you're just interested in a deed, right? You just need to just filter the deed. And then, yeah, these are all various types of documents that get recorded. And believe it or not, sometimes there are restrictions on the property. Okay, even if the zoning and even if the town says, okay, you can build a multifamily on this piece of land, if the original grantor of the deed actually put a restrictive covenant on that piece of land, you cannot do that. So this is very important. Actually, yeah, I know. I myself have put a property under contract, and then after this due diligence, I had to back out of the contract because that property had a lot of potential based on the zoning, but whoever had actually conveyed that property, the neighbor that sold that property, he put a lifelong restrictive covenant on that property, saying that this can never be developed as a multifamily. So it's important that whoever is investing into pieces of land do a thorough research using the registry of lands, and then look for any restrictions, and of course easements too, recorded easements. And then see, some easements may not be recorded, but recorded easements are permanent, they go with the life of the property. Okay, even if the town says, hey, you can do this, but the restricted covenant on that property supersedes the zoning laws. Okay, and I don't know, to remove that covenant, probably it's, I think, land court, and then there's a whole lot of attorney involvement associated. Okay, so maybe we'll just take all the document types. Um, just search. And you get a whole lot of documents. Huh? And by the way, this is public, so anybody can look at any address. So this establishes, right? So back in 2013, I think there's a municipal lien certificate. There's a grantor is this, and then grantee is this. So these the lien certificate was back there. I think probably it has been revoked since then. And then there's a 2013. There is a property that changed hands. There is a deed that was conveyed by grantors. These guys have sold the property to this grantee. This guy bought from these, right? If you look into the document, I think you should be able to look at the document also. Um, you should be able to, yeah, view all image. Yeah, this is the quit claim deed. This says that, of course, yeah, this is the description of the property, the plot, and then who granted this deed. So these are the sellers, and then this is the buyer, and then what is the consideration, how much was paid. So this is the legal document that gets recorded here. So this establishes this particular person's ownership. So if whoever was granted this deed is eligible to sell this property again to somebody else. So this is important, even if you see that before it even goes to the offer stage. I think it's important to uh, establish the ownership of the property. And you don't believe there are real estate agents who actually have taken listings from people who don't even own the property because they don't do this due diligence. But at a minimum, I think whoever is involved in initial stage of the property should establish the ownership. At least the guy who is selling it actually owns it, right? All right, so that's the yeah, that's in Norfolk County records, and then yeah, depending upon which county the property belongs to, I think you have individual websites. Okay, so that's the registry of deeds, and what gets recorded various types of restricted covenants, mortgages, easements, or any other uh, publicly announceable items that get recorded at the registry are quite important, because if somebody feels this is important, that anybody who is ever claiming ownership on this property down the line should know about it, that gets recorded here. Okay, so anybody who is looking at a property should go to the register of deeds and then look at all these public records. Okay, then we have, okay, environmental risk related data. I know flood zones. It's amazing how much freely available data that is available here. See this, if you are looking at a property, a lot of times the flood insurance policy is mandatory depending upon where that property falls. So this Massachusetts state map tells us, okay, this property falls in the flood zone. So these are the flood zones. Huh? So 1% annual chance of flood hazard, regulated floodway, area funded, and then area not included. So you look at these. If your piece of land falls in this, or if your property falls in this, then the flood insurance is mandatory. It can be a cost addition, right? It can be a couple of hundreds on a 500,000 to $1 million property. You could be factoring in a couple of hundreds per month as a flood insurance premium. Okay, so that's important to know. And not only the insurance, but the risk itself, right? I think you need to know whether you're in the flood zone, so that you need to worry about your underground water tables if they raise when you are building a basement, whether the basement can get flooded. Do you need to do a strict water mitigation? You need to put a sump pump, or put a drainage system under the basement. All these decisions have to be made depending upon your flood zone. Then wetlands and conservation restrictions. Yeah, this we have seen briefly in the Lexington Mass GIS map. But if you look at we have an online map. I think yeah, it's temporarily unavailable. But if you look at this is a wetland map. So I know this is national because wetlands are governed under the EPA. Although in Massachusetts, I think we have the Town Conservation Commission, which goes beyond in some cases protecting the wetlands, but the wetlands are governed by the National Wetland Inventory. And these guys, the federal guys, even if a town says, okay, yeah, we will allow you to build, but the EPA could actually come in the way and then not allow. So these are all the wetlands. So it's good to take the property and then find it on the map and then see whether there are wetlands adjacent or going through the parcel of land. Okay. So then I think the potential development potential for development in that particular land is severely constrained based on the wetlands presence or the adjacent wetlands presence. Okay. So that's wetlands, and then radon and soil quality and groundwater data. So I think we do have sources for it. EPA gives us the radon, but radon is yeah, you cannot really rely on it, but you know that okay, so this area is known to have radon, but even if a parcel of land is not in that area, but I think testing is the only way to do it. I think it's just 40-50 bucks to test for radon. And the mitigation, I think, depending upon when the property was built and what is provided already into the structure, I think it's easy to mitigate. And then the soil test, I think, yeah, as land developers, right? I think this geotech engineering, it's one of the significant risk factor. Whenever you're buying a piece of land or you're buying acres of land for development, right? I think geotech engineering should be one of the contingencies that you must put when you're buying that, because the soil quality determines okay whether you can build, whether you can do basements there, or how much type of reinforcements that are required and what types of um, rebars and all that basement technology that is or foundation technology that is required based on the soil engineering. So we do have publicly available data, but this is I don't know, beyond our pay grades. Usually, I think structural engineers get into this. But as a preliminary analysis, right? Maybe if you are doing relative analysis, okay, this land versus that land, you could do some soil comparisons through this publicly available data. And then water tables, yeah, this is another one. So the water tables, I think, yeah, some places it's too high, right? It's so close to the ground. So if it is just within 6 feet, right? So then I think water into the basement is a given unless you mitigate it. So I think this data is quite important and quite useful. Yeah, this is a Massachusetts map. I think it tells us. Yeah, the legend, I think we need to see what do they mean. I think at what depth the water table is found. Then so next is noise pollution. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Noise pollution, US DOT actually pulls these maps. Huh? So noise dBAs, I think, yeah, I think this is aviation mode. That's why I think you're looking at the noise levels at the airports. But if you look at all modes, right, then yeah, this tells us, okay, if somebody says okay if a parcel of land is adjacent to the highways, okay, so this is quantifying, okay, there could be a perception saying that okay, this is adjacent to the highway, so I might be having a huge noise issues, but I think yeah, you can clearly see based on this map, okay, maybe it is closer to the highway, but yeah, this doesn't have much noise because maybe there's a buffer, maybe they built a barrier, right? I think we do see barriers all across highways within the urban settings. Okay, so that's the noise pollution level. I think that's the environmental risk related data. Then moving on to the next one, I think yeah, we are getting closer to the end of the presentation. I know you've just gone past the time. Then land and plot specific analysis using public records. So this is zoning. Yeah, we've touched zoning a little bit when we were looking at the Lexington GIS map. Zoning codes, lot restrictions, easements, special permits, parcel and data maps. I think so. When it comes to the potential development of a given piece of land, right? I think the master plan of that particular municipality comes into play. So that is the overall objective. So they usually that is something that the town comes together, various public forums, they gather feedback and then they come up with uh, a comprehensive plan. So I think, yeah, as a homework, I think you can just go to your town and look at the comprehensive plan for that given town. Okay, that tells us, okay, we have these many households, these many housing, I think we need to create these many houses, we have these many businesses, we collect this much tax, we need to improve our tax base. So it's a comprehensive plan. Okay, but that doesn't tell you much. But zoning is the one that is more granular, and then it's more enforceable, right? So the master plan is just a guideline, but zoning is it's an ordinance, right? So zoning is the law. The town says that, okay, so in order to achieve the objectives or the goals that we set out in our master plan, this is the zoning ordinance that we are creating, and then this keeps on changing. Zoning ordinance can change. The zoning says that, okay, let us take one as an example. Yeah, we go back to the Lexington zoning map. So here, so yeah, there are central business districts, there are residential districts, there are commercial districts, and then within the commercial districts, I think what is the uh, different types of businesses? What is the retail district? What is the manufacturing district, industrial districts, warehouses? So I think they define, okay, which place is more suitable for which types of land use. So this is important when you're assessing a piece of land, right? A guy who's looking to build a single family should purchase a piece of land or an old property that sits on a single family zoning, right? So there are properties which are violating the zone because the zoning ordinances came into play maybe in 70s or 80s, right? Before that, it was wild, wild west. So there are so many non-conforming uses, it's called. So maybe the property doesn't conform to the current zoning, but it has been grandfathered. But if you purchase that property and then if you demolish that, you cannot go back to the grandfathering. So you have to adhere to the new zoning law. So if it allows only an office building, then you cannot build a single family there. So that's very important to actually. These are all basics, by the way, as a land developer. But I think I'm just giving these somebody who is really doing a basic due diligence, basic entry level. So you just need to look at the piece of land, find out the zoning. Okay, if it is the current zoning is single family, then you can buy and then build a single family. If the current zoning is multi-family, and then you can build say 30 units in that piece of land, but there is a single family, I don't know, a developer would jump on it, will just buy it, be it $1 million property, and then demo it, and then build a 30 unit multifamily, because by right it is called. So if the piece of land allows by right, as per the current zoning regulations, if it allows a multifamily which allows 30 unit density for the size of that lot, you can do it by right. You can just pull permits and then start building, right? You probably need to get some local town departments like fire department, planning department, zoning, and conservation. You just need to get their okay, but they cannot deny the permit because you can do that by right. Whereas if the zoning doesn't allow it, I think there are special permits that you could pull, but that goes to the zoning board of appeals, and then yeah, it's a whole lengthy process. It can take years. And then there are some developments called the planned unit developments where even though the zoning is a single family, but a large developer, for instance, a toll booth developer can come and say that, okay, as per the zoning, I think we have 1 acre lot minimum per house, but I'm going to build 200 households, but I only have 100 acre land here. But in order to compensate, I will just do road development myself, or I'll just give you a small park, or I'll just do betterments, or I'll contribute some funds to the schools, or I'll just do that. I'll build an auditorium. Yeah, there are betterment fees and things like that. So there are some additional ways that zoning can be circumvented. Okay. And there are zoning overlays. Okay, the town has a zoning, there's a basic zoning, and on top of it I think there are overlay district, it is called. So this zoning, this area is actually designated for manufacturing. But since we do not have so much manufacturing interest in this area, so there is an overlay district that is called. So we are designating this as with a residential overlay district. But the underlying zoning is manufacturing. So if a manufacturer comes in and says, I want to build a manufacturing plant, they can still do it. But the overlay district can be used as an alternative use. Okay, if a single family developer comes in and then says, okay, since this is a single family overlay district, I can do single family on here. Okay, so that's uh, 10,000 feet overview on a zoning ordinance. So that's available in the town specific websites. Okay. And then eCode 360. So this actually is a pretty good website. This gives various, it's a searchable terms and everything. I think here you can go through the zoning ordinance and then find out various restrictions, the setback rules, the site coverage rules, parking requirements, um, various requirements that are imposed by the zoning ordinance for the developers. Okay, so that's the zoning ordinance, and then the last one is, I think, yeah, I just listed a couple of miscellaneous tools. Google Earth, it's an indispensable source for terrain data, historic maps. I think, yeah, this is publicly available. Most of you might have been on Google Earth at one time or the other. But yeah, I could do a demo, but I think we're out of time. But so this is really quite useful. I think I just go to Google Earth, do the parcels, all these boundaries, school districts, historic maps, congressional districts, terrain data, actually historic data too. I think historic data is very useful. If somebody says, I built this deck in 22, and then you can just go and find out if when was that actually done, right? I think it's really useful to go through the historic data. These are the must-have free tools. Zip Atlas, actually, yeah, this has a lot of information on demographics. I think, say, if you want to if you want to put a business, and if you want to find out, okay, what are the different types of people who live here, yeah, you can just do a whole lot of analysis on the Zip Atlas. It's a quite useful site. So that's why I just listed it here. So I think that should conclude the presentation. I know we just went past the 7 o'clock. But I hope this gives this one good reference to various public sites that are available for real estate investors, enthusiasts, home buyers, sellers, or developers, or even planners. Okay, hopefully this helps anybody who is looking for these sources. Okay, I think that concludes the presentation. We'll take any questions that are there. We'll just wrap it up here then. Okay, thank you all for attending. And there'll be a recording, and we'll just send this recording and post it on our website and our YouTube channel. Okay, hopefully this is useful for anybody who is looking at public sources like this. All right, okay, I'll just stop this recording and conclude this. Thank you all.